Concept that can explain everything without being accountable to anything explains nothing. Which leads us to another point about this admission that God is beyond understanding. It reveals that God often becomes a blank check. If God is beyond understanding but still treated as the explanation for everything, then God becomes a placeholder that can absorb any contradiction. God can be loving and violent, just and merciless, merciful and punitive, hidden and somehow obvious, silent and yet speaking, beyond comprehension and somehow clearly revealed. That's what I mean by blank check. The authority is granted before the content is examined. The believer signs the check first, and then theology fills in the amount later. Whatever God is said to want, require, allow, command, punish, or bless gets covered by the same prior commitment. God must be right. At some point, God becomes whatever the argument needs God to be, near enough to comfort you, far enough to avoid accountability, clear enough to command you, mysterious enough to silence you, loving enough to worship, terrifying enough to obey. God becomes both the answer and the exception. God explains the universe, but doesn't need to be explained. God grounds morality, but cannot be morally evaluated. God commands obedience, but can't be questioned. God reveals truth, but becomes mystery whenever the truth claim is challenged. But an explanation has to risk something. It has to be accountable to reality in some way. It has to clarify what we should expect, what would count against it, or what would make us revise the claim. If God can explain the outcome and its opposite, then God has not explained the difference between the two. That's the hidden point in all of this. A concept that can explain everything without being accountable to anything explains nothing.